high school class of 65, football coach, 1983 to 1992. Taking over for a legend is never easy. Becoming a legend in one's own right is near impossible. After a 5-5 campaign in his rookie year at the helm, Charlie Dicenso had what it took to right the ship and steer the Red Raiders toward contention in the rough and tumble Housatonic League. In 1984, the Raiders went on to win 10 games and their first Class S state title in 1985, including a thrilling mid-season 7-6 win at Ansonia, the first win against the Chargers since 1975. Back-to-back playoff appearances and a league championship the following year cemented Charlie's as one of the premier coaches in the entire state. Derby became a regular in the Register's top 10 year in and year out. A sterling 9-1 record in 1987 was good enough for another Hoosier League crown, as Big Red went unbeaten in league play. That year, they saved their best for last as they torched Thanksgiving rival Shelton to secure Derby's first win versus the Gales in 4 years. Though the 88 squad fell one game short of a Hoosier three-peat, their 7-0 start propelled them to number 3 ranking in the state before finishing 8-2. The highlight of that year was a bruising, gut-wrenching 10-7 victory over arch rival Ansonia. The best was yet to come, however. 2 years later, the 1990 version of the Red Raiders started the season with a lot of question marks. Several starters from the previous season had graduated. An inexperienced senior class came into the season wondering just how good they could be. Even as their record approached 5-0, several skeptics wondered how long it could last, especially with perennial powerhouse Ansonia lurking around the corner. Many of their victories were of the grinded-out variety, including several overtime wins. This wasn't a team that made a habit of blowing out its opponents. Week 6 versus the Chargers was no exception. It was a back-and-forth affair the whole way, with Big Red holding on for a hard-fought 19-15 victory. Even at 10-0, it wasn't until late in the playoff game that they resembled anything close to world beaters. After a sluggish beginning, the offense came to life and scored 34 points in the second half to win going away. Coach Dicenso and company put the finishing touches on Derby's first 11-0 season, still the most wins in a season in school history. After accumulating nearly 80 wins, multiple Hoosier state championships over a 10-year span, the only remaining question was, is Charlie Dicenso a Hall of Famer? The resounding answer tonight is yes. Welcome aboard, Coach Dicenso. Our second member is Phil Donofrio, Derby High School class of 1958. Some guys are all business all the time, tough as nails right from the get-go. Phil Donofrio is one of those guys. Growing up in the 50s in a blue-collar mill town like Derby, is it any wonder? Luckily for Phil, sports were always a big part of his life at an early age. Many of the rough and tumble lessons he learned in youth competition helped build him into a strong young man who led Derby basketball to a position of prominence in an era where great players were few and far between indeed. As just the second, and to date, the last all-state basketball player from Derby, Donofrio led the Raiders in most offensive categories, while guiding them to the playoffs on multiple occasions. Despite his best efforts, they fell short of championship glory, but always gave it their best. As team captain, Phil won't have it any other way. Phil also excelled at Quinnipiac, leading the Braves with the same hard-nosed approach that served him so well at Derby High School. By the time he graduated in 1962, Phil had scored over 1,000 points, was a 2-time tournament MVP, and was named captain his senior season, while leading the team with an average of 15.5 points per game. In 1977, he was also voted into the Quinnipiac Hall of Fame. Fittingly, he ended up in the hardware business, blue collar and tough as nails. A Derby guy to the very core. Congratulations, Phil Donofrio. Bill Duggan, Derby High School class of 1951. Championships are won long before the opening tip, and certainly before a single point is scored. Likewise, leaders are forged through countless hours of practice and preparation, so that when the time comes for them to shine, they step up and do so as if they've been waiting their whole lives for the opportunity. Team captain Bill Duggan had worked his way into a leadership role on the 1951 Red Raiders basketball team. Like Leo Ryan before him, Coach Ed Cross was a developer of champions. His team was poised to make a deep playoff run on the strong and steady shoulders of his leading man, Bill Duggan. Of course, basketball, like any team sport, is anything but a one-man show. Several key performers chipped in and did their part along the way. Big Red featured a fairly balanced scoring attack, which made it difficult for opponents to defend. An early round test in the state tournament came from Valley rival Shelton. Shelton had beaten Derby twice during the regular season, but Derby prevailed by a 45-42 score. From there, it was a victory over Stonington in the semis before facing Sacred Heart in the finals. Derby got off to an early lead, even extending it to as many as 20 points. But Sacred Heart chipped away, slowly but surely, until it was down to a one-point game. The championship came down to the final minutes, where the leadership, hard work, and preparation finally paid off. Bill Duggan was named MVP of the state tournament for his efforts, and he's the only player in Derby High School history to hold that honor. As might be expected, Bill embarked on a successful professional career following his 4 years at the University of Bridgeport. He became head coach in basketball at Derby before moving on to a long-time career as principal of Derby High School and even superintendent of schools in Derby. Some come by leadership more naturally than others, but when you put in the time and pay your dues, you're ready to lead when the time comes. And Bill Duggan was always ready to lead. Congratulations, Bill Duggan. Jim Keefe, Derby High School class of 1959. Going the extra mile is the mark of a true champion. Throughout his stellar career, Jim Keefe proved that he was more than just a mileage specialist at Derby High. His accomplishments on the track and on the road helped put distance between him and all the others who tried in vain to keep pace. Although he played football, Jim was able to also compete in the cross-country championships during his senior season, as that was allowed during that time. And he did pretty well, because he won the Class M title and earned a silver medal in the state open. It was during track season that Jim really excelled. He won back-to-back Class M crowns in 1958 and 1959 with mile times of 4:35 and 4:33 respectively. Before him, it had been 20 years since the Derby runner had won a gold medal. His time of 4:25 in the 1959 state open, it was the school record, stood for years. During the indoor season that year, his dominance included yet another state title. In the college ranks, Jim continued his standout career at Central Connecticut, winning championships and earning All-American honors at various distances, including the mile, the 5K, and the 10K, making him one of the most versatile champions in school history. After college, he capped his amazing run by representing the United States in international competition as a member of the U.S. team in their travels throughout Europe, including competing against the Russians, the East Germans, and other world powers. As Jim rounds the corner and heads down the stretch, let's all cheer him on as he breaks the tape once more and takes his rightful place in the Derby High School Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Jim. Ken Pereiras, Derby High School class of 1971, accompanied by another generation of Pereiras. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight of the dog. At 5'6", and 110 pounds, Ken Pereiras proved that size indeed does not matter when it comes to dominating on the basketball court. His quick first step and uncanny ability to penetrate the opposing defense more than made up for anything he may have lacked in the height department. Arguably the best basketball player to lace him up for the Red Raiders, Kenny was the type of player to regularly fill the stats on the box score, leading the team in several categories on any given night, while setting several school records along the way, some of which still stand. Kenny was a scoring machine, including a 48-point outburst against Shelton that still stands as the top single-game performance in school history. His 574 points in a season was also #1 on the Red Raider list. He became the first Derby player to surpass the 1,000-point mark and graduated with a career scoring record of 1,053 points. Ken's scoring prowess became evident early on. He finished his years at Derby High School having started in 52 consecutive games and scored in 60 consecutive games. Just for good measure on his stats, he's also the school standard bearer on assists with 12 in a single game, proving that he was willing not only to score, but to share the ball with his teammates. After an undefeated junior college championship season at Mattatuck, Ken went on to star at Western Connecticut State University. He is now the wildly successful coach of the girls softball team in Seymour. With a trophy case full of accolades to his credit, few have ever stood taller on the basketball court than Ken Pereiras, one of Derby's all-time greats. Congratulations, Ken. Our last two members were acknowledging with a bit of sadness because they both passed on, but their family members are here tonight. Brent Sanford, Derby High School class of 1970. On a team loaded with standout athletes, the one who stood out the most, and not just because of his size, may well have been Brent Sanford. To date, the only high school All-American in Derby High School football history. As a two-way starter on the legendary 69 edition of the Red Raiders, Sanford was an opposing coach's nightmare. On offense, he was impossible to defend, often a favorite target of quarterback Bunny Basin. As a defender, he routinely blew up the backfield, even when double-teamed. On the hardwood, Sanford was just as dominant. He was regularly a team leader in scoring and was a beast on the boards. His school record, 32 rebounds, is still the best ever for a single game. When he set up shop in the low post, opponents either gave way or ended up wishing that they had. At the other end of the court, if you did come through the lane, you did so at your own risk, because one thing's for certain, when you went head-to-head with Brent Sanford, you felt it. After graduation, Brent joined Derby teammates Frank Romano in Maryland, where the two of them continued their sterling gridiron careers, just as dominant as ever. Once a standout, always a standout, and now a Hall of Famer. We're fortunate tonight that Brent's wife, Della, and his daughter, Dina, have come down from Massachusetts, and you can see them at the center of the field with last year's Hall of Famer, Vince Greco. Congratulations, Brent and family. Alphonso Vitello, Derby High School class of 1941. For over 50 years, the name Al Vitello was synonymous with Derby High School athletics. From the time he first suited up for the Red Raiders in the late 30s until his retirement as athletic director in the 80s, no one cast a bigger shadow on the program than he did. As a multi-talented athlete, Vitello excelled on the gridiron, the baseball diamond, the basketball court, and even the track. In football, he was a two-year starter on both sides of the ball, earned all-state honors, and captained the 1940 East Tennessee Champs. He also served as captain of the basketball team for Coach Leo Lyons' Red Raiders. His prowess on the field and on the court earned him Derby's Athlete of the Year honors in 1941. After the war, Al returned to his alma mater as a teacher and coach. As head of the baseball program, he guided the squad to the East Tennessee title in 1954, the last Red Raider team to do so. He also coached the basketball team to several state tournament victories over a 12-year career. In 2009, the home court at Derby High School was renamed in his honor. Sadly, he passed away in 2010, but the gym was formally dedicated in his honor on February 18, 2011. During his tenure as AD, several championship banners in a wide variety of sports were hoisted to the rafters at DHS. Derby pride was an all-time high, due in large part to its program's biggest supporter, Mr. Al Vitello. And we're fortunate tonight to have his son, Paul Vitello, join us in recognizing Al Vitello. Ladies and gentlemen, the Derby High School Athletic Hall of Fame, class of 2016. Thank you.
I remember that.